behalf of Fianna Fáil.
Taoiseach, just about now, a press conference has been organised to unveil by the Irish Nurses and Midwives Organisation. That will unveil the result of some research that has been done by Dr. Keith Hurst, who is an international expert on medical staffing levels, comparative medical staffing levels. You will find that the results of that research are stark and frightening. They tend to compromise patient safety here and give the lie to the notion that frontline services are being protected. They find, for example, that comparative staffing levels in this country are significantly less than those in the United Kingdom. For example, in 25-bed wards, they find that in surgical wards we have 6 less staff, in medical wards 3.5 less staff, in AAUs 13.5 less staff, and in wards for the elderly care 3.25 less staff. Now, Taoiseach, I don't know if you're aware that last week a report was published by the relevant authority in the United Kingdom which showed that in 25% of units in the United Kingdom, which are significantly better staffed than ours, nursing staffing ratios were below minimum safety standards, and that resulted in hundreds of premature mortalities. Now, you will be aware, Taoiseach, that the government is proposing this year, for the next 12 months, to take a further 3,700 people out of the health service, followed by another 3,700 the year afterwards. Now, putting all those things together, Taoiseach, what I want to ask you is this. How can you tell the people that you are maintaining a safe health service for people who will be forced to use it?
Thank you, Deputy. Taoiseach.
Ceann Comhairle, the Minister for Health will examine the results of the INMO study when it is published. However, without the full details of how the work was undertaken and what the findings were, it's not possible to comment in detail on it at this point. I am aware that other studies have cited figures which suggest that Ireland has a more favourable nurse-to-patient ratio than the UK. The Government has determined, in line with its commitment to reduce the size of the public service, that health sector employment numbers must be reduced substantially in 2013 and 2014. Spending on the health services will also have to be very tightly controlled. The cumulative impact of staff reductions from this year and previous years does represent a significant challenge for the health system in delivering services. The priority is to reform how health services are delivered in order to ensure a safe, more productive and more cost-effective health system. Effective service delivery requires processes to ensure that there will be sufficient staff available at the right time, with the right skills, diversity and flexibility to deliver high-quality care. Skill mix is a central factor in staffing decisions. The Croke Park Agreement has been crucial to the health service's ability to manage through the very difficult circumstances of recent years. The flexibility and the adaptability shown by staff, including nursing staff, has meant that even with reduced staff numbers, service levels have largely been maintained, and indeed performance in relation to emergency departments and hospital waiting lists has been markedly improved. In the grace period earlier this year, the focus of the Minister for Health and the Health Service Management was on ensuring that all critical and essential services are maintained. This was successfully achieved through measures that included the reorganisation of resources, more flexible working arrangements and filling of a limited number of critical posts. The continuing reduction in staffing increases the need for reform, including greater flexibilities in work practices and rosters, as well as redeployment. The HSE is committed to fast-tracking new, innovative and more efficient ways of using reduced resources, including greater flexibilities in work practices and rosters, especially of nursing and medical staff, and the changing of skill mix.
Thank you. Further
flexibility and efficiency measures are provided for in an updated health service action plan under the PSA, which has recently been completed.
Thank you, Taoiseach. Deputy ID, 1 minute.
Taoiseach seems to dismiss out of hand the results of this research, even before he has studied it. The Taoiseach must be aware that his colleague, the Minister for Health, in justifying his decision to proceed with a HSE inquiry in the case of Savita Halappanavar, has said that he owes a duty of care to the women of Ireland. Is the Taoiseach aware that the recent report from the State Claims Agency indicates that there was 5,600 accidents or near accidents involving the period around childbirth in Irish hospitals last year? That's out of a total number of 86,000 accidents or near accidents, which cost the health service 81 million in claims last year. Now, what I want to ask the Taoiseach simply is this.
Yep.
Is he going to take any action? Is the government going to take any action on this research? Is it, at a minimum, going to organise risk assessments for all these staffing levels, or is the government's concern for the safety of people using the Irish hospital service confined to bringing forward legislation for the X case?
Thank you. Taoiseach.
Well, having raised one issue and having got an answer to it, Deputy O'Dea now switches tack to 2 or 3 other issues. First of all, let me take now each of the points that you made in series. First of all, the government is not dismissing out of hand the study that has been done for the INMO. I told you in my reply that the Minister for Health would examine the results of the INMO study when it is available. But I think you'll agree that it is at least prudent, if not courteous, to those who have produced it, that we at least await its publication and examine what's in it in detail when it's available. And I've said to you clearly that the Minister for Health will do that. In respect of the reductions in staff that have taken place in the health service, let me say again and pay tribute to the staff who work in our health services, including nursing staff, who have been flexible, who have been adaptable, who are providing the best possible level of care to patients, and who are taking on additional responsibilities and additional work as part of the undertakings that they committed to under the Croke Park Agreement. And in respect of the issue that you now attempt, and you know it's unworthy of you to try and attempt to haul into this question the tragic case of Savita Halappanavar. Your own party leader only a week ago acknowledged that this country is one of the safest countries in the world for childbirth.
Thank you. Deputy MacDonald, on behalf of Sinn Féin.
Today we read details on your plan to tax the family home, leaked by your own government to the media. Taoiseach, your plan to tax the family home, straight out of Fianna Fáil's 4-year plan. You're continuing to implement their austerity plan. Now, I'm glad that Fianna Fáil have had a Pauline conversion on their road to Damascus, and they now oppose their own policies, it seems, in a truly remarkable spectacle of political gymnastics. I think they might be a bit late in convincing the electorate, though. Can I say to you, Taoiseach, that the plan to tax the family home is a crazy policy. You know that we are dealing...
Sorry, would you please? No. Please. Would you please? You're wasting time. Thank you very much. Thank you. The Taoiseach will have a chance to reply.
You know, Taoiseach, that we're dealing with the consequences of a burst property market. You know that people were ripped off paying outrageous sums for houses which were subsequently dropped 50% or more in value. You know that young couples are left raising children in 1 or 2 bedroom apartments or houses that are way too small for them and they've no prospect of moving on. You know that there are 160,000 families in mortgage distress who can't pay their mortgage, who are struggling on interest-only mortgages. You know that thousands have paid out huge sums in stamp duty.
Thank you.
And then you come along and slap a tax on the family home. And I think you ought to be ashamed of yourself
Thank you.
for doing this. So my question to you, Taoiseach, is why you continue to take the soft options, why you continue to place the burden on low and middle income families, on the coping classes and on the working poor. And why is it that you continue with this tax on people's homes, the failed policies of Fianna Fáil?
Taoiseach, now would you please allow the Taoiseach? There are some people making noise in this chamber who should know better. The Taoiseach to reply, please. Thank you.
Sinn Féin used to believe in equality between North and South. It's a view that I subscribe to. Deputy.
He doesn't need any help.
Deputy, a house valued at £150,000 in Antrim pays £1,100 in property tax. A house valued.
All right, settle down.
A house valued at £100,000 in Strabane pays £714 in property tax. And a house.
Do you know about that at all?
Sorry, would you please?
And a house.
There's a time limit on this question.
And a house valued at £75,000, just £75,000 in Coleraine pays £506 sterling. Does the hypocrisy?
Sorry, would you please allow the Taoiseach there?
Does the hypocrisy of Sinn Féin know any bounds at all? Deputy, the position is this, and it is well known, that this government made it clear that we will introduce a local property tax, which will replace the household charge. That is a budgetary matter which is under consideration by the government, and the Minister for Finance will announce the details of it on Budget Day.
Deputy MacDonald, 1 minute to reply.
I don't think that your attempts at diversion qualify as an answer, Taoiseach.
Thank you.
And
sorry. We don't need your help.
And if you'd actually done your research, you would know that the rate system in the North is a world away from the tax that you propose on the family home. A world away from it. So how, Taoiseach?
Now, you're on your final warning. The next person that causes trouble is out. You understand? From either side. Out. I'm not putting up with abuse about my chairing when you people get away scot-free from roaring and shouting. Now, would you please proceed without interruption?
So, how do you imagine families will find an additional €400 or €500? Where are the exemptions? The reports refer to deferrals of payment of this tax on the family home. A deferral isn't a waiver. So can you, Taoiseach, that when you get to your feet, at the very minimum, reassure those who are out of work, those who live on pension, those who literally count the cents, not the euros, but the cents, month on month as they try to meet their bills, that you will grant waivers, even if you are minded to proceed with this crazy policy, that at a minimum you will have the decency to take account of the reality of people's lives and to grant extensive waivers. Can you spell that out now, Taoiseach?
Taoiseach to reply. 1 minute, thank you.
Well, first of all, I think that it would be advisable for Sinn Féin to at least await the announcement of the budget before you start charging in, attacking what you think are elements of it. So at least await the announcement by the Minister for Finance on Budget Day. And yes, you can be assured that this government intends any of the measures which are introduced on the budget as a whole, and it is a difficult budget that has to be introduced. And incidentally, I acknowledge the fact that at least on this occasion, that Sinn Féin, in its pre-budget submission, at least on this occasion, acknowledges that an adjustment of 3.5 billion will have to be made in the budget for this year. You can rest assured that the budgetary measures that will be introduced by the Minister for Finance will be fair and balanced.
Thank you. Deputy Boyd Barrett. Thank you. 2 minutes, Deputy.
Thanks, Count Corlett. Taoiseach, a number of weeks ago, Social Justice Ireland revealed that 1 in 10 children go to school without proper clothing or breakfast. The CSO revealed recently that 10% of the population are living in food poverty. Today, we read in a report from Trinity College and the ESRI that 2/3 of families of thousands of teenagers that were surveyed are experiencing significant hardship, and that the number of families experiencing that hardship has doubled over the last number of years. And another survey reveals that 9 out of 10 people believe that after your forthcoming budget, they will have less money to pay for basic food items. Incredibly, Taoiseach, in the 21st century, poverty and hunger are stalking the land. And against this background, we understand you are proposing to impose a tax on the family home of in the region of €400 to €500 a year for ordinary families that are struggling to that extent. So I just want to ask you very simply, Taoiseach, is there any red lines over which the Labour Party will not now cross? Are you willing to drive hundreds of thousands of families into poverty and drive them into hunger? Or can you give us any assurance before the budget that those who are already struggling to put food on the table, to clothe their children, to pay their bills, and who cannot take any more, will get some protection and maybe even some relief from your government in the forthcoming budget?
Thank you, Deputy. Taoiseach.
Well, again, Deputy Boyd Barrett manages to twist things. The reports that he cited were not reports of people who are in poverty. They are reports of people who are at risk of poverty. And the reality is that Ireland has one of the lowest levels of risk to poverty in the OECD. Now, that said, poverty and risk to poverty is a very real issue and a very real concern for this government. And that is why we have to, first of all, restore our public finances, because the money that we spend in social protection, in education, in health, in the delivery of services, at the moment we are borrowing 3 out of every 10 euros that we're spending on that, and we can't continue to do that. Because if we continue to do that, Deputy Boyd Barrett, we will condemn people in the future and children in the future to poverty in this country, and this government is not going to do that. That is why the priority of this government is to restore our public finances so that we can pay for the social protections and the programmes that are required to keep people out of poverty and to keep people in a decent living. That is why also we have given a priority to getting people into employment and to sustaining employment and to sustaining a sound economy in this country, because the best way of staying out of poverty, of keeping out of poverty, of getting out of poverty is to have a job and a decent income that goes with it. And that's what the priority of this government is about. Now, we would all wish that it were otherwise, but we are in a financial crisis. We can complain forever as to why we got into that financial crisis or who was responsible for putting us into that financial crisis, but the responsibility of this government, which we are not going to shirk, is to get out of that economic crisis and to ensure that this country has the resources with which to provide for our people, to keep people out of poverty and to stop people going into poverty.
Taoiseach, I'll take that as a no then. You can't give any assurances to those hundreds of thousands of families, who, many of whom are living in poverty, 700,000 children living in poverty, and then hundreds of thousands of more hovering on or just above the poverty line. And you can give no assurance to them that they will be protected or get relief from these dire circumstances they find themselves in. And you say there is no alternative to this. We must restore the public finances. Taoiseach, I ask you very simply. I revealed a couple of weeks ago in a question on corporation tax that corporations who made €61 billion in profits last year in this state were only paying 6.5% effective tax rate.
Thank you.
If you brought it up to 12.5%, that would raise $3 to $4 billion and would do away with the need for property taxes, further cuts in health services, further cuts in education. So will you make the multi-million euro profitable corporations take the hit rather than families who are struggling with poverty and in some cases hunger?
Thank you. Taoiseach.
Yes, I can give an assurance to people in this country that the approach that we are taking, which is a rational approach to dealing with the financial and economic crisis that we have, will get our economy restored, will get people back to work, and will ensure that this country has the money with which to provide for the social protections, the social services, the education, the health service, all of the other services that we need as a country in order to ensure that people don't slip into poverty, that people get out of poverty and are provided with supports for that. You don't do that by simply shouting at the problem. You don't do that. You don't do that. You don't do that. You don't do that. You don't do that.
Increase the corporate.
Hold on a second. Don't be daft.
Sorry.
Don't be daft. We have a rate of corporation tax in this country. We have a rate of corporation tax in this country which, by any standard, is an effective, a very strong, effective rate of corporation tax. We need. No, get a grip.
Sorry, please.
Get a grip, Deputy Boyd Barrett. Stop shouting slogans at everything. We need to attract. To continue to attract. We need to continue to attract. We need to continue to attract into this country companies who invest here and who create jobs here.
Thank you.
We are, over the past year, have the best year in the past decade in attracting inward investment into this country to generate the employment and to generate the spin-off employment in the domestic economy. And you simply don't want them. I mean, you want to chant slogans at them. You want to send them away. These are people that we want. These are people. They are paying tax. These are people and companies that we want to attract to this country in order to create jobs. That's the way we get out of the economic crisis. Not running around like a blue behind blue bottle, waving slogans at it.